Hi, it's Stacy from familieswithgrace.com, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk with you about couple goals that every Christian marriage needs. I have 12 relationship goals that you need to set with your spouse today, things that you need to talk about. So for a while, I often saw social media posts that were marked hashtag couple goals, and they were usually couples being all lovey-dovey, and I tended to be doubtful about how authentic they actually were. But these are not the kind of couple goals that we need in Christian marriages, and that's not what I'm talking about today. Instead, we need to focus on our own relationship and not worry about anyone else's. Getting into the comparison game only asks for trouble. My husband and I started off our marriage on a different path from many other couples from the very beginning. We got married in between my sophomore and junior years of college, and many people were naysayers about us getting married so young, and I do understand that. It is not the right choice for most, but it was the right choice for us. I have never regretted becoming a Mrs. at age 20. So early on, my husband and I learned to pave our own path with our marriage and our relationship. In the 23 years since then, we've made that path work, and I love it. We didn't sit down on our wedding day and come up with and set goals. We were much too excited for that. But before we got married and in all the years since, we have talked about our relationship and our plans. We've worked together to envision what the future looks like for us as a couple. And that's what I think truly encompasses couple goals. I'm not talking about the specific things that you want to do, maybe as in your career and with your household and with your finances. I'm talking about your relationship specifically. So whether you're about to get married, you're 1 year into marriage, 10 years in, 25 years in, whatever, it's never too late to talk about your marriage and what you need. It's never too late to set couple goals for yourselves. And this is the perfect time right now to do that. And let's start with some of these ideas that I have for you. Number 1, go on regular date nights. So in the first decade of our marriage, going on a regular date night wasn't that much of a challenge because we didn't have kids. But especially since having our oldest 13 years ago, we learned we need to make spending time alone together a couple's goal. I remember when our oldest was a toddler and my husband and I had an evening to ourselves that we were excited about. In our conversation that evening, my husband mentioned to me that he thought we might have some work to do to reconnect with each other once our kids were grown and moved out. We decided then that we need to be proactive to keep from growing apart during the hectic years of having small children, and that continues even now that our kids are 10 and 13. We found it easier to not have a set date night that we have to follow each month. It's a specific date, because life is certainly unpredictable at best. Instead, we make use of the time that we do have, and we get creative. For example, earlier this week, we took our dog to be groomed after dropping the kids off at school, and then we stopped for a quick breakfast out together alone, and that was a nice little date morning, as you might say. Number 2, find new ways to connect. In making dates a priority, we also work to find new ways to connect with one another. We do enjoy date nights of going out to eat and or to a movie, but we also want to find new ways to connect with one another. We've gone to paint pottery together in the past. We've walked through home stores and just dreamed together. Most recently, we've tried out date night boxes. For Christmas 2022, my husband gave me a subscription to a date night box from Created with Joy. Each box is themed with a different topic and comes with suggestions for movies, food, games, and activities along that theme. Our first box, for example, also included a gratitude journal for us each to fill out for 14 days about our partner. The boxes have been a great way for us to reconnect and have fun in new ways, which I really enjoy. Number 3, speaking of enjoy hobbies together. If you would have asked me when we first got married whether my husband and I would find hobbies that we would do together, I might have been confused. My biggest hobbies were solo ventures, and they still continue to be that. I love to read, and that's kind of a solo activity. But within the first few years of our marriage, I started taking an interest in my husband's hobbies. I love him, so I wanted to know more about the things that he loves. And that's how I became a gamer. My husband has enjoyed role-playing games since long before I met him. And since we met when I was 14 and he was 16, that's pretty significant. I never quite understood the draw to them. I continued to combine my hobby But then, I decided to combine my hobby of reading and his hobby of role-playing by reading a fictional book series based in the Dungeons and Dragons setting. Before I knew it, the Legend of Drizzt series became my all-time favorite, and I eased my way into gaming. And in fact, even behind me, I guess it's out of the camera, but I have various Drizzt figures around our house, and he is even on the wall in our living room because I've embraced that so much and really enjoyed it. But the point is, having shared hobbies is an important couple goal because it lets you connect in different ways than usual. All right, number 4, worship together regularly. As a Christian couple, my husband and I have always felt like God is the third person in our marriage. And so one of our couple goals is to connect with God together. A great way to do that is through worship. A few months after we got married, my husband started a class that took place all day on Sundays. So for a year, I went to church alone as a married woman. When his class ended and we were able to go to church together once again, I appreciated it all the more. I love sitting beside him in church and joining together to worship and grow spiritually. Just this past Sunday, I closed my eyes during praise songs and I was blessed to hear my husband singing on the left of me and my kids singing on the right. My heart was full, and I was reminded that no matter what's going on, I am so very blessed, and I am thankful for that. Number 5, find ways to discuss big topics peacefully. So communication has to be on any list of couple goals. It's a big deal. No matter how well you and your spouse get along, there are hot button topics that need to be discussed and resolved, and you may not always agree about them. I'm talking about big stuff like finances and parenting. When we were figuring out finances as a couple way back when we were in college, we didn't have much, but we still had to figure it out. We decided to work on them together, but that I would be the primary person who dealt with bill paying. And that's still the case, and this was mostly because I stress a lot less when I know what's going on. However, that has also meant whenever we had a discussion about our finances, especially if money was tight, I would take it personally. I would feel attacked and assume that I was messing up. We've had to work through that, and now I can still have moments when I start to take it personally, and my husband will pause to remind me, nicely of course, that I don't need to take it personally. We're just having a conversation and working through this topic together. Figure out each other's hot button topics, and then learn how to communicate in spite of them. You don't want to use those hot button topics against each other, but rather to help each other. Number 6, laugh together regularly. As a married couple, you want to have fun together. Nothing is more indicative of fun than laughter. Make laughter a priority. Set it as a goal. Find ways you can laugh together. My husband gets my sense of humor more than anybody else, and he makes me laugh more than anyone else in the world. And he always has, and I'm thankful for that. Life is hard, so keeping a sense of humor is important. Once you're in the habit of laughing together regularly, you can even indulge in gallows humor to get through your hard times. For example, a few years ago, as I was recovering from one of my pelvic surgeries, I was slowly walking laps around our living room to try and get some movement in. It was a struggle at the time. On my second time around, my husband started playing the William Tell Overture. I was off to the races, and he gave me a much-needed laugh in that difficult moment. All right, number 7, study the Bible together. Another great couple goal for Christian marriages is to study the Bible together. This has had a few different iterations in our decades of marriage. We've done specific couples Bible studies, just the two of us. We have family devotion time now with our children, and even more recently, we found a small group study through our church that we can attend as a couple. One of the things I love most about studying the Bible with my husband is hearing his insight. He is such a smart man. I'm thankful to hear his perspective on spiritual topics, which is oftentimes, or at least sometimes, different than my own. He makes me think, and I'm glad for that. I hope I do the same for him. All right, number 8 of couple goals that Christian marriages need is to parent together. We approach life as a team, my husband and I. That teamwork mentality has continued into parenting. Before we even had children, we talked about how we wanted to raise them. And since having children, we've continued having those discussions. We talk about how we want to discipline, the lessons we want to teach them, and how we can parent them better. We have agreed on many things, while on others we haven't, and have had to work through them to come to a solution. Overall, our goal is to provide and present a united front to our children. We want to be on the same page so they don't get confused or anxious as a result of us being on different pages. Number 9, don't make threats you don't mean. When we got married, my husband and I made it a goal to not threaten each other with things we didn't mean. Sometimes when people are upset, they say things to be mean or hurtful in order to lash out. For example, we decided early on that if either of us talked about divorce, we'd better mean it. Divorce was not a threat to throw around lightly, and I'm proud and happy to say that that's never come up for us. Threats are just hurtful to a relationship and have no place in good communication. Make it a goal to not use threats with your spouse. Number 10, pray together and for each other. Prayer is an important part of a Christian marriage. My husband and I pray for each other more than we pray together because that's what works for us, but both are important. Coming before God jointly is powerful in your relationship with each other and with God. Praying on your own for each other is powerful as well. I pray daily for my husband as he is dealing with life, work, and family. When he's having a difficult time with something, I remind him that I'm praying for him, and then I actually do so. Make sure that I am saying extra prayers specific to a situation that he is dealing with. There's something comforting about knowing that someone loves us enough to bring us before God. Number 11, speak kindly to and about each other. Another great couple goal to strive is to use kind words to each other. This goes as far as asking nicely for the other to do a chore that needs doing. If I can speak kindly to strangers I encounter at the grocery store, surely I can speak kindly to the man I'm sharing my life with. Yet, sometimes it can be difficult. So, sometimes I just keep my mouth shut. We also work to speak positively about each other outside of our relationship. Neither of us are perfect. I know my husband has things he could grouse about when it comes to me, and I have the same about him. But we don't focus on those things, and we don't talk about them with other people. Instead, our goal is to speak positively about each other to our children and to everyone else. And finally, my 12th tip of the couple goals that every Christian marriage needs is to give each other grace. I mean, you know I have to include this one. Grace is my thing, and I think giving grace to each other should definitely be a couple goal for every marriage. I want so much to have a grace-filled marriage. I want my husband to give me grace when I fall short because I'm not perfect. In return, I also need to give him grace when he falls short because he's also not perfect. We all have bad days and bad moments. Oftentimes, a little grace can go a long way to avoid arguments and hurt feelings, and it makes us feel more loved and understood in the end. And that's it for my tips for goals that every Christian marriage should set and have. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Definitely check us out. Familieswithgrace.com. We have all kinds of content to help you create homes filled with grace, love, and faith. Everything from recipes to marriage to parenting, all of it you'll find there. It's a great resource and I think you'll enjoy it. And thanks so much, and I will definitely see you next time. Bye-bye.